Hi guys, it's Sandy with Sandy Cogdell Designs, and oh my gosh, don't you just love this card? This is a stamp set from Riley and Company. It is it's illustrated by Carmen Ellis from Spooky Hollows Folk Art, and there are 4 different stamp sets. This one is called Fangtastic. This is the one I'm starting with first. Of course, being the way I am, I had to have all 4 sets. So this is the first one that I will do and post on my blog. I'm not sure if I'll do a YouTube video or not, but there aren't dies with this, so I thought I would do a video to show you how I inked that background and just made these little guys come to life. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you like this video. You can also subscribe to be notified of future videos. You can follow me on Instagram at Sandy Cogdell, on my blog www.sandycogdelldesigns.com. And I guess that's it. Let's get started. So I decided that if I wanted to get all 3 of my little friends on this card, I was going to have to make a square card. So I went ahead and I cut my card stock. Actually, I will be using Express It blending card. That's what I prefer to use for my Copic coloring. I cut a piece 5.5 by 5.5, and then on a piece of scrap card, I cut a piece the same size, but then I used a circle die to cut in a circle big enough to go behind all 3 of my little friends here. So what I will do on this first pass of my Misty is I've got my circle penciled out there, and I'm just laying in my little friends where I want them to fall on my card. At this point, I'm not caring whether or not they're overlapping or not. I'm just trying to get a good placement. So I will stamp the largest one on in the center first, and then I'm going to add my 2 other little ones to the side and get those placed on my Misty. They are going to stay on that Misty lid until I get the whole image stamped on. I'm going to pull out that piece of cardstock and put in my actual Express It blending card, and I'm going to stamp those 2 little friends at the bottom, and I am using Memento Tuxedo Black ink. Once I get them stamped, then I am going to mask them off. I have stamped these guys off camera on Gina K Masking Magic, and once I've got them stamped, then I will cut on the very inside line of the inking to cut out my little mask pieces. If you'll notice, on the little pumpkin, he's got very, very thin hands, and on the little guy, I'm not sure what he is. He's got like little bat wings on his outfit. He's got a lot of hair that sticks up, and there is just no way to trim around those really fine lines. So what I'll do is I will kind of cut close to them at the top edge and just leave that masking paper intact. Once I am done doing all of my inking, I will go back in with a Copic marker that's real similar to the shade that I used for the inking, and I will just color in those white spots. There is just no other way to do those real fine lines. Now I've got those masked off, I've got to put in my larger one. So I'm going to take that piece of paper out of my Misty. I'll go ahead and put in my original piece of scrap cardstock, and I will lay that largest stamp, the one in the middle, on top where I had initially stamped him, and get him set up on the door of my Misty. Once he's there, I'll go ahead and ink him up, I will put in my actual coloring cardstock back in my MISTI, and I will stamp him on top of those two other little friends. So when you're doing this, you always want to kind of plan ahead as to which images you want in the front. So if you want them in the front, those are the first ones to be stamped and masked, and then you build from there. Now that he's stamped, I'll go ahead and peel off the backing of my masking paper and get that mask placed right on top of him, being careful to make sure his little fingers and his little arms, even his little legs, are still covering the inside of that stamp, if that makes any sense at all. I'm going to tape down my piece of cardstock to my work surface, which is glass, which is what I actually prefer to use. And then I will use the little piece that's kind of my stencil for the moon to figure out exactly where I want to lay in the stencil that's going to create my grass. The stencil I'm using is a lawn fawn stencil. I believe it's called Grassy Stencil. And I will just kind of slide it in there, kind of in that circle area, just to kind of give myself an idea of where I want that grass to be in my picture. I'll go ahead and tape down my stencil, and I will come in with some Twisted Citron Distress Oxide ink and just lay in a nice, fairly solid layer of ink. Once that ink is dry, I'll go ahead and move that stencil down and tape it on my surface. When I move my stencil down to use as a mask, I want to make sure that I have just the smallest bit of ink still showing. That helps kind of connect the two colors once I start ink blending the background. Next, I'll grab my homemade little stencil, place that where I want it, and then tape it down on top of my image. That is what I'm going to be using for my moon. I'm going to start ink blending some squeezed lemonade Distress Oxide ink over that entire area. Being careful around those little skinny hands just to make sure I don't peel them up as I'm moving my brush around. Once I get the squeezed lemonade in there, I'm going to go back in with some mustard seed Distress Oxide ink and just kind of blend around those outside edges. That helps give it a little bit of dimension, and it also makes it kind of pop. I'll go ahead and remove my moon stencil and get ready to start ink blending the background. Now I'm going to be using that circle that I cut out, and that is going to be my mask for the moon. I am going to start ink blending with Broken China Distressed Oxide ink, and I'm starting right at that grassy line and moving up about halfway up that card side, not including the grass, of course. And I'll just get that ink blended in. Leaving that moon in place, I'm going to start blending in some Wilted Violet Distress Oxide ink. I want to make sure as I'm going down that I'm getting a nice blend where that Broken China is. I want to just those colors to just kind of meld together so that there isn't a harsh line between the two colors. They just kind of blend right into each other. And we are looking really good. So now I've removed my mask for the grass, and I'm going to use my little pick tool to lift up the white masking paper and peel it off of my little friend's hair. I'm being very careful to peel those off so that they're all in one piece, because I will save them and use them for future cards. And that's pretty much it for inking this background. As you can see, by his little head, around the fingers on the tall guy and my little pumpkin head guy, there are some white spaces that didn't get any ink. I will go back in with a Copic marker that is close or similar in color and just fill in those open spaces. I did not record myself coloring this card just because of the length of time, and I wasn't quite sure on my colors, so that even takes me more time. I will list the Copic colors that I use down below in the description. You can also go to my blog and they will be listed out there. To finish up this card, I used another Riley and Company stamp. It's called Seasons Creepings, and I heat embossed that at the upper left-hand corner of that card. I did cut it down to 5 inches square, and then I did mount it on a piece of black cardstock that was 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. Again, you can go to my blog to see those particular details. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I hope you've been inspired to do a background of your own. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. You can follow me on Instagram at Sandy Cogdill or on my blog, www.sandycogdilldesigns.com. Have a great day.